Hey guys, how's it going? Wanted to bring you the video on phase 1 of our Rubicon clone process is complete. Now, at first glance, first impressions, you might not understand what I'm talking about, but if I come over here and look at that indent, we have our Rubicon fender flare kit installed on the Wrangler. Now, I got these from the dealership. They were cheaper than buying them online. I think Quadratech has them listed for like $700 and some dollars. From the dealership, these were $650. And it's the same kit. And you get obviously the flares, you get the wheel liners, and you get most of the hardware. It says all, but that's wrong. There are some bolts that hold your front fender and fender liner in that the kit does not come with, but it comes with all your little plastic push pins and plastic rivets. So the installation was really easy. A lot of people will just get the fender disconnected and then they just rip it off. I did not do that on the front because I really wanted to save those. It does take a little bit extra time, but all you gotta do is reach in there with you get the wheel liner out first, and then you just reach in there with a pair of pliers, and you just pop the clips out one by one. It's really not that hard. The biggest pain in the butt ones though, there's one in this corner, and there's one up in here that you really can't get to. So those ones I did have to sacrifice, but all the other clips for the fronts came out. The rear was a different story. The majority of the little plastic clips that hold your rear fender on, you actually cannot get to the back side of them like you can on the front. So the back sides I did just have to rip off. So keep that in mind. But other than that, installation was really easy. I do recommend they give you plastic rivets like that. I did not use those. I think plastic rivets on something like rivets are real permanent, and on something that you would have to remove and gain access to, because like your charcoal canister on this side, you would have to get the wheel liner off to get at, and I'm sure there's stuff in the front that you really have to take the wheel liners out for. So instead, the plastic rivets, you would think are actually securing the plastic fender liner in there. They really aren't. They're really kind of just acting as a pin. So what I used is little push clips, and these actually do grab onto the fender liner a bit better. And if you have to get the fender liner out, pop the pin out, pop the whole thing out, pop it back in when you're done. So you do have to do that all the way around, except for the 2 rivets at the end. Don't have to worry about. On your front, these are all decoration except for these 3, and then that one's decoration. So both sides have the plastic nuts there too. Now I was gonna do the LED turn signals, but I went with the halogens just to avoid a headache. I didn't really want to deal with, even though it's probably really easy, I didn't want to deal with updating the computer for the LED turn signals. But I actually wound up liking the halogens better, because the halogen on the stock fenders, it's just one bulb in the middle. On the Rubicons, they actually have two bulbs, one for the daytime running light or the light that comes on with the headlight, and a separate one for the turn signal. So, and it's not the same bulb. This one's a different bulb, and it's amber than this one. So I had LEDs that I could put in here, and these ones I just left with the incandescents, and the incandescent turn signal looks just fine. So I was actually pretty surprised and pretty pleased. I kind of like the look of having, the one light all the way out here instead of having the whole beam lit up, but that's just me. But, so the fender liners are on. Well, what about our back bumper? Well, I wound up coming across a stock Rubicon bumper on Marketplace, and I re-dyed it. It didn't come out perfect. This is a bit darker than this, but at a passing glance, you can't really spot it unless you're really looking for it. But this it's not the steel bumper, it is the plastic. And mine, luckily enough, came off of a Rubicon, so I could use these stock end caps. If you have one off of like a Willys or a Sport or a Sahara or anything other than a Rubicon, and it's this 2-piece or 3-piece bumper with the 2 replaceable end caps and those reflectors, the Rubicon specific plastics for the end cap, they're like $20 from the dealership. So really easy. If you have one of those, just buy the plastic pieces. It's really easy to swap them out. I wound up, you can disassemble this whole bumper. There's like metal bracing inside. The bracket that goes on the end here is the same from the Sport to this style bumper. The inner brace pieces that your mud flat filler piece bolts to is different, but mine came with all the brackets that I need. It didn't come with the splash guards. I put the stock Sport one back in here, but the filler piece from Mopar is $20. One thing I will say, Mopar's website and the stuff that the dealership uses, it is not user friendly. If you're just trying to find the part, you really need to have a VIN number. One of my friends works at the Mopar dealer that I got my Jeep from in the parts department, and even he was having a rough time trying to find those filler pieces. So what I would recommend, if you guys are doing this, do what I did, find a Rubicon that they have on the lot that has this plastic bumper. If you're looking for that piece or any other part really, take a picture of the VIN number on the Rubicon that's on the lot, and then the parts guy can use that VIN number to wind up with the part that you're actually trying to find much faster and easier. But that's coming. But other than that, other than that, I wound up paying $200 for the bumper. It came with all the hardware, brackets, so I have extra brackets and bolts. And it also came with the license plate light, the reflectors, the whole deal. And it came with the red tow hook, which I wasn't intending to put on, but since I had it, why not just add to our Rubicon clone process. So there it is. Phase 1 is complete. Phase 2 will be at some point in the distant future. And phase 2 is going to be 37s, E-lockers, and 513s. I was debating between 488s and 513s. I don't know. I think 37s is where I'm going to be happy with. But I would like to have the additional torque. You know, I'm not really interested in like flying down the highway at 90, 100 miles an hour in a lifted Wrangler. I would much rather have that 513 gear to get some added torque and low end power for pulling out of stop signs and all that other stuff. So yeah, but that stuff won't be happening until these tires need to go. I've got like 6,000 miles on them, but they're wearing really good. Like they still have plenty of meat, and these tires weren't cheap to begin with, so I don't really want to just ditch them for bigger tires before I'm ready. Plus, I want to be able to put them on the Rubicon wheels that I have in here. Might be able to see there, it's tucked under here. Yeah, can't really see them. But they are, they're JK Rubicon wheels. They're 17s, so the same size wheel that's on here now. But video I saw, a guy put 37s on JK Rubicon wheels, and he said that the offset on the JK is different than on the JL, and the JK Rubicon wheel sticks out a bit, like slightly farther than the JL wheels do. So, but yeah, so that is phase 1, phase 2. Side note I want to talk about, I actually was going to go with a aftermarket bumper before I went and found this Rubicon bumper, and I wound up buying this one over here. It's off of Amazon. It's Oedro or whatever. And during this process, it really brought to light how illegal the aftermarket bumper world is for the JLs. Now, it is specific to the JL because JK and previous Wranglers, the license plate and license plate light, were on the body. You know, JK's, I mean, like the YJ, it was on the driver's side and it had the flip lid for your filler tank. Or might have been the passenger side. And then on the JKs and the TJs, you had the bracket that went here that your license plate was mounted to. JL is the first year that they moved your license plate and license plate light down onto the bumper. Well, all of the aftermarket bumpers that I was finding that weren't over $1,000 either had no license plate bracket or had some variation of license plate bracket up here. Now, it's cool that this one came with a license plate bracket. However, it does not come with a license plate light. And so I had an aftermarket solution for that. You know, I was going to have, and I did order a license plate light that would bolt to the top license plate bolts and shine down and all that stuff. I wound up not going with this bumper because you have to take your factory tow hook off. they give you these D-ring mounts, but they are literally cosmetic. They specifically state that the D-rings are not to be used for towing and recovery. And the reason why is right there. They had a notch. They stuck the D-ring through the notch and put this little tiny brace on the backside with the, 2 beads of weld there and some beads of weld on the outside. And they specifically state it is not for towing and recovery, which makes the D-ring completely useless. Additionally, I had seen a YouTube video where a guy was installing this bumper and the trailer hitch was welded to the bumper, which I thought was a great bonus because that really strengthens your tow hitch. Now not only are you bolted to the tow hitch spot on the frame, but your tow load is also spread out across your bumper and your bumper's mounting points. Well, I get it in the mail. The tow hitch is separate and it is an inferior design. The stock JL, it is a U shape that goes up and under and it wraps around your frame, so your strength comes from your frame. The aftermarket tow hitch, it's just 2 separate pieces that sandwich the frame, so all of your strength comes from your bolts, which is just bad. And you cannot use the factory tow hitch because this one sticks out farther. So I ditched this bumper. I looked at other aftermarket options and there were just so many that made getting your license plate on there a living hell. And then, some people would say, well, you just do a spare tire delete. Well, a lot of the spare tire deletes either A, don't have a third brake light option because your third brake light is part of your spare tire carrier. So a lot of your spare tire deletes delete your third brake light, but don't give you a replacement. Or if they do, and they have a license plate mount, a lot of them don't have a license plate light. So it was just like, I did not feel like dealing with the complexities that come with the aftermarket bumper world. So I just went with this. Now, one of the other beneficial things is you can delete these end caps, which I may do down the road. You can delete this and then you just have to trim a little plastic flange that your end cap clips into off, and then you have a full width bumper, but it doesn't stick out that far, and you don't have this bracket, which I've seen this bracket in here, this brace. If you hit something, it can go up into your body and damage your tub. So for now, it'll be fine. If I decide to go down the route of taking on this thing on some more serious crawling adventures, I may nix those end caps. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.